Going up against CDG Twiz, that's a Terran, versus a Zerg. We also have Snuffleupagus, Snuffleupagus going up against Chaotic in round 2 still. Hopefully that match concludes pretty soon, as I think that's their only... Yep, it did. So we have Snuffleupagus. I'm not going to be able to say it, am I? Snuffleupagus going up against the Palagoon, and just because apparently I like torturing myself, I'm going to see if we can cast that game, just so I can try and say that name 800 times fast.
Snuffleupagus is from some cartoon, and I can't remember what. It's killing me. It's like... It's definitely the name of like a pet or an animal or something from some cartoon I used to watch when I was little, but I don't remember what. If any of you guys know, please tell me, because this is killing me right now.
Yeah, it does sound really familiar, and that's why I was laughing, because I'm like, I know that's from something, but I can't remember right now.
Yeah, I can't remember what either.
Anybody in chat gonna help us out there? It's Winnie the Pooh, Muppets. What?
What?
Liars.
No way.
It's not Muppets.
I never watched the Muppets. Yeah, Dibs one is saying Sesame Street too. I don't... Oh yeah, and I'm getting a link from Swedish Fish. Wikipedia.
For what?
Here, I'll send it to you on Skype. It appears it is from Sesame Street, but I don't even know who this character is.
What?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm clicking on it. I hope I don't. Alright, good. It's an okay. Oh yeah, huh? Oh, it's never long. There's never long.
I don't know. I don't remember that character. I distinctly remember hearing it somewhere else, or so I think.
All right, and that was from Swedish Fish. Aloysius Snuffleupagus, more commonly known as Mr. Snuffleupagus or Snuffy, is one of the characters in the educational television program for young children, Sesame Street. He was created as a woolly mammoth without tusk or visible ears and has a long, thick, pointed tail. Huh. I actually seriously didn't remember that. Apparently he was created in November 8th, 1971, a little bit before most of our time, I believe. Nostalgia Talks was probably oh so excited if he was watching. Probably knew exactly what we were talking about there. So just going to invite you into this next game. It is going to be the Palagoon against the Sesame Street character.
Yep, and here we go.
Are we ready? We get a yup and a KK, and good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. And the counter slowly goes down. Oh, glorious. 3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to game number 1 from round number 4 of Good as Gold, number 56. I'm OrD, that's ORD. You can find me on Twitter at ORD_SC2 or at any of those locations down over there in that GIF in the far corner. With me today as my co-caster is LordFreiza. You can find him on YouTube or on the Twitch at Frieza Starcraft. It's right next to me in case I messed that up too badly for you to understand. Really quick, write it down quick, and we go into game and say hello. How are you, Mr. Frieza?
I'm doing great myself. How are you?
I'm awesome. We are back on Condemned Ridge. We're still in round 3, that means. So everything's good to go, and I'm going to get a chance to help out with the intros. In the lower right-hand corner of our screen, we have the purple Sesame Street character. Please forgive me, I'm going to butcher it 100 times this game. It is Snuffleupagus. And who do we have in the left?
Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Condemned Ridge, it is our pink Protoss player, the Palagoon. Interesting name right there. I have no idea what that's supposed to represent. Do you have any idea?
It's actually another children's story. Oh, I've forgotten. Someone quick, link us to that as well. Bacon sauce is tired. No, stick with it. You can stay awake. I believe in you. We notice first and foremost that this game has a forge fast or a gateway first expand. That was surprising. Going up against a rather conservatively placed pylon on the high ground. What's important to note in a mere matchup like this is scouting your opponent first gives you such an advantage. So Snuffleupagus is well aware of what the Paladin is planning. He comes down here, sees that a gas has been laid down, and actually steals a gas of his own, which actually I don't know if I agree with. Meanwhile, the Paladin is slowly making his way down and around the map, and will scout his opponent last.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting position that Snuffleupagus is choosing to put himself in. Actually, going gateway first behind an expansion was actually kind of popular versus Zerg, but in a PvP matchup, I can't even begin to think of a use for this kind of build. So it's going to be interesting to see how he tries to pull this off. He is throwing down the Cybercore and already has the Forge down for Pylons, so it is going to probably look like a similar Forge Fast Expand, except it's obviously not. So I'm curious to see how he tries to pull this off. But back at the Paladin base, we also have our Cybernetics Core as well as one Gateway. Just finishing now with First Zealot.
Alright, so, I mean, he saw this, and the other thing that I don't understand that's going on right now either is the chosen location for these buildings. Like, it's not a wall. There's still a huge gap over here, and the Forge and the Cybernetics Core can actually finish covering this area. I mean, it does require that the second pylon be used, but, I mean, he's already warped that in. And now he's warped in a gateway on the high ground. Just a really interesting construction for his base is going on. I'm not sure what his overall intent or plan there is. He hasn't expanded yet.
What's interesting is that the Paladin's actually going for a 4-gate. We can already see that in the works. He is now taking out the assimilator of Snuffleupagus. So, actually choosing to take that Zealot off is going to be an interesting choice. But, I mean, I was going to see if he was going to throw down a second gas for that, because it doesn't mean he's going to be going heavy into the sentry play with the 4-gate. But it appears that is not what he's going for, and he's just going to leave the assimilator there. I guess he doesn't really care too much for it. But going out with this one Zealot Stalker aggression seems to be pretty common nowadays. And I think with proper kiting and micro, he may be able to do some damage to these two Zealots that are on the field.
And so that probe is in a forward location. The 4-gate timing will be pretty decent, actually, done before the 6-minute mark, just barely. And probably about a 6:15 warp in if he lays down the pylon. Or he's not. He's just going to poke right up on and in. And with some kiting, if the Paladin kites this Stalker, but if he doesn't, it's going to die and he's going to lose this engagement.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not cutting that Stalker is going to be a huge loss right now. Going to be forced to retreat with the Zealot, not even getting to kill one of the two Zealots of Snuffleupagus. So a big win for him right there. Now throwing down 3 pylons. Wait, the Paladin threw down 3 pylons in the base of Snuffleupagus, trying to get a warp in, I assume. And now that they're up, here he goes.
That's extremely cheeky, and it's just an all-Zealot warp-in. This is weird. That's about all I can say. The Zealots from Snuffleupagus are... Okay, there we go. The cannon is down, and he should be just fine. Looks like he may have gotten just 1 or 2 worker... Just 1 worker kill for all of that. So right now we open the units lost tab. We see the Paladin coming out really worse for the wear here. There's still...
Ooh, these cannons going to make it really tough for these Zealots, but now actually Zealots going to be skirting the cannon, going up the ramp, maybe try to get some damage done up here.
Yeah, and the Zealots get surrounded. They're not even attacking. Now they finally are, but the Stalker gets targeted down really quickly, and both of these Zealots only get 1 or 2 kills each. Actually, more Zealots being warped. This is ultimately doomed to failure, but the longer he does it, it seems the little bit better that he comes off for it. He's been surrounded multiple times with his Zealots that go up against the probes, so really great control out of Snuffleupagus. But again, we have another warp-in, and the cannon doing a fantastic job softening up everything, and now we have a warp-in of Sentry and some Zealots, and finally this pylon will go down, and we see that 19 units lost during that exchange for the Paladin. Meanwhile, only 9 for Snuffleupagus, so really good control by him. And the probe over here desperately trying to eventually kill this assimilator. The Paladin is behind in tech, he's behind in supply, he's behind in resources. Not at this second, obviously, as he's stacked up 500. Hasn't been warping in back home, hasn't been expanding, so I think he's probably just going to try for a 4-gate robo push after this.
I don't know. We do see charge coming out of the Twilight Council from Snuffleupagus, so he's going to be going for a charge lot push, and it may work. I'm not so sure. The thing was, the Palagoon, my assumption is that he tried to do that so that he didn't have to engage up a ramp and then worry about the cannon shooting at him or getting force fielded off. But overall, I think it cost him a lot of minerals and wasn't that effective. So he's forced to do this little engagement back at his own base. The Harvester count's equal, so it's not like he's too far behind. They're both on one base, but like you said, the army supply is in favor of Snuffleupagus at the moment. So both players in kind of a weird position. We do see an observer now on the way for the Palagoon. Going to try and see.
Snuffleupagus is supply blocked, and he has been for a while. Just now laying down that pylon. That's actually going to really help the Palagoon get back into it. And I'm just staring at this particular building layout over here. He definitely has a nice little safe area for warpins, whereas warpins can't be attacked. And maybe that's the idea behind it, because he pretty much only seems to be warping in back over there in that corner. But I don't know. I've never seen any player use that setup before. Have you?
No, this is definitely a first for me too, but it's definitely an interesting layout. I mean, I think for warping in stalkers and stuff like that, it may prove to be effective. But he's just taking it in such a weird position where he's putting his buildings, almost in harm's way in a lot of respects. So I think there's more of an argument against it than for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and right now we have the observer for the Palagoon that just made it across and saw that he's not really up for all that a big fight just yet, as his opponent's army is still in his base. And meanwhile, he's got a Zealot poking up and in. Or, sorry, Snuffleupagus had a Zealot poking up and in. A little bit hard with the pink and purple both being Protoss. Oh, getting some lag spike there out of Palagoon.
Alright, well, we do see a little move. Deciding to turn back, actually, from Snuffleupagus. We do see a robotics bay on the way for the Palagoon, as well as a War Prism, that's it. War Prism. So, I think the goal of this would be when his opponent moves out to try and warp units into the main base of Snuffleupagus and knock out his econ, which in theory is a good idea, but he doesn't hold the Zelnaga tower to know when his opponent moves out, and I think that's going to be very, very critical. He's maybe just be going in blind with the War Prism like he is right now, and I think that may be a mistake. But anyway, on the other hand, we do see an Immortal from Snuffleupagus choosing that tech choice instead. Do you think the Immortal may prove to be more effective than the Colossus tech in the Palagoon space?
Definitely kind of early game. Immortals are much more of an anchor for the Warpgate army, I'd say. Later in PvP, later game, Colossi versus Colossi are really, really hugely important, but I think go with the Immortal first just because it's a little bit easier to produce as far as costs and all that. Makes a lot of sense. And Snuffleupagus is actually getting supply blocked again, but that's okay. Some Zealots are here to help out with that, freeing up 4 supplies so far. Another warpin of Zealots. It seems like the Palagoon just loves using them in general. And now we have Probe versus Zealot versus Cannon. Finally, some forces for Snuffleupagus coming back up and in. And actually, the Cannon does barely survive. And only 3 of the 7 Zealots that were used there get out. The Warp Prism is still alive, and that's important because it will force Snuffleupagus either into committing fully to an attack or just hanging out in his base and going nowhere. Looks like he chooses the attack route, maybe. And a little bit of lag now. Okay, back to it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, but we do see at the same time, I got to mention, level 2 attack on the way for Snuffleupagus. And I don't think it's going to be out in time for the engagement, but that would make a huge difference in this engagement coming up right here. We do see Thermal Lance on the way for this one Colossus from the Palagoon, and I'm not so sure if that's the right thing to be doing. I would rather see him be chrono boosting out a second Colossus than the tech for one of them. But, I mean, this is what he's choosing to be going for. The one Stalker poking in, going to decide whether or not he has enough to go up that ramp. And I personally think he does, but he's got to be wary of this Colossus on the high ground. It's in a very nice position right now.
The supply lead actually going to the Palagoon now at this point, and the Colossus was hidden from that Stalker who tried to poke up and in and see what unit composition he was going up against. And I actually really like this choice right now to Snuffleupagus, deciding that I might be able to win that fight, but I can expand behind this posturing forward. and that will help me out in the long run. Ooh, Palagoon also intelligently expanding now as well. So we'll be entering a touch of the mid-game here, PvP, which isn't something we always get to see.